Hi, and welcome to episode 161 of the Heartland Knits podcast. My name is Vicki, but you can find me as Heartland Knits on Ravelry and Instagram. And today is Sunday, February 5th, 2017. Thank you all for joining me this week. I thought about recording last week and kind of was planning on doing it and sat down and it didn't feel like I had kind of enough to fill up an entire podcast episode. And this week, I feel like I have tons. I have knitting and spinning and sewing and show and tell. So it makes me feel more enthused. So I feel like I have more to offer. So let's start out with what's been on my needles. And this is the first week of the month, and that's when I usually show my bohos sweater that I'm knitting on this year. And even if it wasn't the first week of the month, I would be showing the boho sweater because that is the only thing that I've been knitting on the last couple of weeks. So I think the last time I showed it, I had finished the front and I was a couple inches into the back. Well, now I have all of it, the front and the back finished. I did them kind of separately and I've got that seam sewn. And when I say they're finished down to the band. I'm not sure what kind of band I'm going to put on there, but they're both finished down to there. And I am working on a sleeve. So I've got a sleeve started and I have a whole sleeve finished. So, I did nearly all of the back, a sleeve, and, a little bit. I just kind of put this on the needles the last couple days and have been working on it. So that's a lot of knitting. If you're new, and I know that there are some new viewers, so welcome and thank you for joining me. This is a kit for a sweater that I bought the yarn. The yarn came from Sweden. It's a lace weight yarn, a merino angora yarn, and the gauge on this sweater is 9 1/4 stitches to the inch. For me, that means I'm using a size 1 needle. It's a lot of knitting. If you knit your socks, I know a lot of people don't check their gauge on their socks, but if you knit socks kind of with 60 to 64 stitches on them, chances are your gauge is probably around 8 stitches to the inch. So this is smaller than that. So in this amount of knitting, there's at least a couple of pairs of socks if you count it up like compared stitches. But I just kind of felt like I fell into this sort of monogamous thing, and I just kept knitting and knitting and knitting. So this sleeve is finished again down to the cuff. So anyway, this is blue shimmer. I don't know if I said that. And this was designed kind of in the late 1940s. So it is a very classic design. I'm doing something on the sleeve though that I have never done before, and I'm really liking it, and I'm sure I'm going to do it again. So I don't know I think I showed this, but just a refresher, and it's not going to show, so maybe I will try to take pictures. When I did these raglan increases, I kind of devised a way of doing them top down, but you'll often see on kind of store-bought sweaters like raglans and things, they do what's called full-fashioned decreases when they're decreasing kind of bottom up, and I kind of reverse engineered them to do on there so that it's got like a little bit of a just a little design feature. And so then when I started to go down the sleeve, I started doing them as decreases. So I don't know how much that is showing. The only thing I wish, and I hadn't kind of thought about doing them on the sleeve when I did these up on the raglan, and I did these raglan increases every 4 rounds. And these, because on these sweaters, I I decreased for the sleeve. The ratio is every 6 rounds. So I wish I had done the raglan ones every 6 rounds and then they would match. But you know, but anyway, I think it makes a really, really pretty look when the seam is sewn. I can get that like straight so it looks nice. But I think it makes a really, really pretty kind of look, and I, kind of hidden the decrease line in with that. You are like pulling over stitches. You do it sort of like you're doing, crossing stitches like you do when you do a cable, and cables tend to draw things in. So with this lace weight yarn, I didn't have to sort of change my stitch count or anything. This is the 9th boho sweater that I've knit, so I sort of have my stitch counts and all of those things kind of set, just from experience doing all the other sweaters. And so I didn't have to change the stitch count with this lace weight yarn with the amount of stitches I had. Now if I did this kind of with a worsted weight sweater and a worsted weight sleeve, then I might have to, because there's less stitches around, and then I might have to test that and make sure that it wasn't drawing it in too much and make the sleeve too tight. But for this, it was fine. But anyway, I think it's really pretty and I like it a lot. So I don't know, I might try to incorporate that somehow into the edgings, or, like to use that kind of like in the button band somehow. Or anyway, so that's what I'm thinking about. So working my way down the sleeve, and that has really just been my main knitting. I have no off the needles this week, but I do have some finished spinning, kind of epic finished spinning. Back in 2004, kind of in the summer, I took a 3-day workshop with Galina Kamaleva over at Michigan Fiber Fest. And the first day we learned using Russian spindles to spin yarn for an Orenburg shawl. And then the other 2 days were about knitting the lace for the shawls. It was a wonderful workshop. It was very small. We were in the bunny barn. It was, August. It was hot, and it was a wonderful experience. So at that time, I was a brand new spindler. I had been spinning on the wheel for a couple of years, but I had just started kind of at the beginning of that summer trying to learn how to drop spindle. So I knew nothing about supported spindles, and I didn't know how to long draw or anything. So the spinning part of the class was challenging for me, but I bought a couple spindles. I think in the class, like, you could buy the spindles that you used in a little bowl. I have a little bowl that I bought at that time that I used. So after that, I bought all kinds of fiber when I was there. Cashmere and Kashgora and Pygora, and all these really fine fibers to Russian spindle. And I should say that watching her use the Russian spindle is what drew me to spinning. Kind of back in, oh gosh, maybe 98 or 99, like way back, maybe 2000, I'm not sure. But anyway, I went to Stitches, and it was in Minneapolis then, and she was demonstrating this in her booth, and I remember just standing there. I'd never seen anybody actually spin before, and it just looked like magic. She would just pull her hand back and roll it back on, and it looked like magic. And that is where the spinning vortex sort of swept me up into it. So this has been a long-term kind of goal of mine, is to spin enough yarn for an Orenburg shawl. So kind of after that class, and every now and then, I would take the spindles out, and then I would buy a few more when I would see them at an event somewhere, and I would buy a few more Russian spindles. And so I had these 2 little bobbins that I had spun when I took this out. This is spun and plied, and it's the singles were cashmere and they were spun on the smaller spindle, and then you take them off of this spindle and wrap them with a silk thread onto the larger spindle. And then when you ply off, what you do is you kind of roll the spindle in the opposite direction, just like you would on a wheel. So you're putting an S-twist into it, onto it, and then as it twists together, you wrap it around a circle of cardboard, kind of wrapping it so it's loose, because you can see, I don't know if you can see, it's kind of squishy, and you make these little bobbins. So I had these two when I took this project back out after camp, and I now have these 4 more. You can tell these are much like bigger because I think I loaded, I had 4 of the spinning spindles and 2 of the plying spindles. So I think I was putting 2 spinning spindles worth on. So I loaded them up a lot more so that these are bigger. But I now have, this is 3 ounces of cashmere, and I don't know if I can get a close-up of the yarn, but it's a very, very, it's a gossamer weight. So I just feel like I finally did it. At the beginning of the year, I talked about I wanted to start a new spinning project. I had all those fleeces in the closet, and I was going to take one of those out. And I went back and looked at them. And for me, spinning a fleece is a kind of a big, long-term commitment. Most of my fleeces are finer, so they'll spin a thinner yarn. I'm generally knitting with a fingering weight anyway, so it takes me a long time to get through a fleece. And I already had 2 kind of big long-term projects. I had this one, and I had my Traveler, I have the bunny fiber from my bunny from 6 years ago. So I thought before I kind of get involved in another great big long-term spinning project, I should finish off at least one of the ones that I have. So I kind of went wholehearted and just spun like crazy. I mean, I've been spinning on this every now and then, like every, in the evening or, at night or something, I would spin on these. But this last month, I just worked at it. So I have, all my spindles are empty. I have the yarn. Because you wind these on like a bobbin like this, so this has not been wound like into a skein or a hank or anything. You just wind it onto the bobbin. So I don't know the yardage of what I have here. The twist hasn't been set on these either. They don't, wind, hank these up and set the twist like kind of we usually think of doing. They set the twist with steam. And in the back of my mind, I always thought I would, finish this in the summertime, because that's usually when I took this out, was I would spindle on it kind of in the summertime. And in my head, I was planning on kind of wrapping it in a damp kind of dish towel and, putting it kind of in a jar in the hot sun on the driveway or something and letting it steam. Because you do not want to submerge these in water or you're going to get like a kind of felted mess. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do to set the twist, somehow devise something, with steaming it kind of on the stove or something. I don't know. I'm not sure. But anyway, what I do know, I never want to do anything on the support spindle ever again. It is not my favorite way to spindle. I enjoy drop spindling much more. So anyway, look for these. They will be going up for sale at some point. And these are actually from Russia. I don't know what that says right there is Orenburg. It's wood burned into the wood. So it says Orenburg in Russian. But so anyway, I'm going to be selling these, and I am going to, with this, I am hoping to knit a shawl. In sewing, I started a new project. Last weekend, I woke up and realized it was the last Saturday in January, and I had not even started the couture dress that I wanted to make this winter. I don't know why. It just kind of got away from me in January. And so the dress that I want to make is from this pattern. It is Vogue 8648. And I'm going to make kind of this version, except I'm raising the back and I'm lengthening the sleeve and changing the skirt up a little bit. But anyway, this is the dress that I want to do according to the Susan Kalji Craftsy class that I've been watching. The fabric that I'm going to use is kind of a pink, kind of wool blend plaid, kind of a little check plaid. And so I have started the process of making the muslin for this. And it's a completely different way of doing. I did do a muslin last year when I first wanted to sit down and make a dress, but it was nothing like this. And so far it's been going okay. So last week, the first thing that you have to do is you have to mark the pattern pieces with the stitching line, because this whole method centers around the stitching line. So I marked the stitching line on all the pattern pieces and cut them out and laid them on the muslin and cut out those pieces. And when you cut them out with scads of seam allowance, like scads. I mean, and it was kind of nice to not have to be very precise and meticulous and cut all the little, notches and all of that. It was kind of nice to do that. So then the next thing you did, and this is what I started doing yesterday, Friday and Saturday, is you mark them. You mark the muslin pieces with kind of waxed tracing paper. And I ordered the tracing paper from her. They're big sheets, I think like 36 by maybe 24. It covered my whole, I have a round glass kitchen table, and it covered like the entire surface of it. But you get 4 colors. You get red, yellow, blue, and white. So and the reason you have those great big pieces, because then you can lay the whole, pattern piece down, and you don't have to like move it around or anything. It covers the whole thing. And this is the same kind of waxed like tracing paper that was used kind of way, way, way back. Some of the colors would be like tiny little pieces, and you cannot find that paper anywhere. Even in the little sheets, you can't find it. I don't know when that sort of changeover happened. They have some kinds that are like powdery. Anyway, apparently they don't work very well. She said, don't even bother. They're not going to work. Plus, they're the little sheets. So I ordered kind of big sheets from her. And then with the tracing wheel, you mark that, and it's going to show very light, like that's my grain line. It, still on there is like, you mark the notches and all the stitching line you mark on all the pieces. And then, as this shows, you go along and you sew just with the machine, and you thread trace. So where that black is, that is right over where my wax tracing line is. So I've got some of these done. I didn't get to do all of them yesterday, so I will finish those up today and thread trace all of these. After these are all thread lined, then I will sew them just with the sewing machine with a basting, big large stitch on the sewing machine. I will baste this, and then I need to fit it, which will be a challenge because I had hoped to have a dress form to fit it on and, pad it out to my measurements. I'd hoped to get that at Christmas time, and then all this stuff with the house. It was more important to fix the cracked pipe in the attic than it was to get the dress form. So my plan is, and let me know if you have other ideas of how to do this. So it's got this kind of a midriff kind of band. So once I get the whole thing together, my plan is to, I mean, even if I'm holding it together in the back, I should be able to tell if the waist is hitting where it should be on my waist. I know that I'm usually a little long-waisted just from knitting and things. Though I do on the dresses, I tend to like them a little bit not quite on my waist, because when all my store-bought dresses are just kind of naturally that way, so that's what feels comfortable to me. So anyway, once I get that nailed down and figured out, then what I plan to do is sew a zipper in, probably baste it in the back, so that I can completely and entirely close myself up into the dress, because I don't have anybody that can just pin me down the back. And the one thing she did say when you're fitting is to try not to disturb that center seam. So I thought if the zipper is in there, I wouldn't be changing that center mark anyway, if I need to change it. And I'm almost positive that I'm going to have the skirt like larger, because this is the kind of dress that I've always liked, but I've never been able to wear it, even when I was like skinny mini. It's one of those things that your proportions just have to be right, so that if I got one and it fit the top of me, then the hips were really tight, and if I went to the size that the hips were good, then top was way too big. So, and that's the point, right? When you sew your own, you can make it so that it fits. So I'm almost certain I'm going to have to take out the skirt a little bit, which will be okay. So anyway, that is the next challenge, to like figure out. That is where my dress stands right now. But I do have some show and tell, kind of sewing related. I told you I ordered the tracing paper from the Susan Kalji website, and because I was ordering from her, I thought I should put a few more things in there. To this point, I have been using kind of just my things that my mom had for sewing notions and things, her pins and all tape measures, and I like that because she touched all those things and used all those things. Pins, they have been bent. I use them for blocking things sometimes, and they bend because I kind of put them into the carpet and stuff. So I decided I would get some of the pins that Susan Kalji uses, and these are glass-headed pins. They come from Japan, and they're she talked about that they were really nice and sharp and stuff. So I thought pins you're using all the time, you can get cheaper ones at Joann's, but I bought some of those. And then I also bought some other pins that she used in the video when she was matching the plaid fabric that she used, and my fabric is plaid also. And these are these like double-pronged pins, and they're like attached there. These are from Clover, and I know I've seen these at Joann's, but they cost more there than they did at the Susan Kalji site. Though, I mean, if I was only going to be ordering these, it would have been cheaper to buy them at Joann's, but with the shipping. So anyway, she said that these work better than doing kind of two pins right next to each other. So I since I have a plaid with this dress, I bought those. And then I bought just a little bit of this, which it's going to show. It's a kind of you can see how thick it is. And this is called Cigarette. And she said she buys this in Paris. And what this is used for is to put in for a sleeve head. This dress had, I used silk organza, and just from like kind of hanging, being on a hanger and all of that, it has flattened down a lot. But I thought this dress that I'm, the couture dress, has sleeves, so I thought, well, I'll just get a bit of this. You just use, a little bit for across the top of your shoulder. So I bought a little bit of that, and then I bought some silk organza, which is what she uses for underlining. Like a lot of things, there are different qualities of silk organza, different, thicknesses. Some are slipperier and stuff. So this is what she uses and kind of recommends. And I thought, even if I get, samples from places, I won't kind of know, what's the ideal, thickness and until I have a piece of hers. So I thought, because I'm, doing this dress, and I also think I want to underline the Liberty of London dress that I'm going to do later on, I figured this will get used. So I bought enough to do one of those dresses. And if I love using it, I can always get more. At least then I can have I'll know kind of the ideal quality of silk organza to use. The nice thing about using it, because it's transparent, the nice thing about using it with this plaid dress is that when you lay it out, so this will be marked and with the stitching lines, and so that when you lay it out and line it up on the actual fabric, you can match it easier because it's see-through, so that you can get those plaids matched up. At least that's the theory. We'll see if that happens. So that was my new stuff. It was really nice to order from her site. It came, I think I ordered it Monday and I got it on Friday, and it was all nicely packaged and everything. The big sheets, I didn't bring those out. The big sheets of tracing paper, I didn't want to unroll them because you can get it on your hands, but they came all rolled up in a tube, so that's how I'm storing them. And so yeah. So the only other thing I have to tell you about, I don't have my nails done because I am ripping wallpaper in the bathroom. The 70s Tastic foil paper is coming down, and it's slow going because it's 70s Tastic foil paper, but they did put it up correctly in that it was a 2-layered, once you can get the foil down, the wall had been painted, and then they put a paper down to cover that, and then they put the foil paper onto that. So once you can get the foil off, the other paper releases with a lot of vinegar and water, and a lot of plain vinegar, a lot of elbow grease, and it's coming down right to the paint. So that's good because it is kind of the color I would paint it anyway, but it's slow going. And the other thing that I've been doing this week is I have been having a Soup-O-Rama. Every day I have been making a different kind of soup and, freezing what's left. Not huge, massive batches, but enough that I will have, I'll have some to eat that night, and then usually like 4 containers that I can freeze. So I've made red pepper, I've made carrot ginger, I made white chicken chili, and then yesterday I did my mom's vegetable soup that she used to make with that you start with, soup bones and the whole thing, and, all kinds of red vegetables. Today I'm making chicken stock from scratch. And let's see, tomorrow I plan to do red lentil coconut curry, which is really spicy and good. And then Tuesday, a friend of mine told me about her favorite, which is like a tortellini, kind of like Italian tortellini. So if you have a favorite soup, I would love to hear about it. If you want to throw a link in the Ravelry group. Anyway, the Ravelry group is Friends of Heartland Knits, so come over there and join us. And if you have a soup recipe you'd like to share, or if you would like the link to any of the ones that I talked about, of course, except for like my mom's, which is just a basic vegetable soup, um, let me know, and I can put it in there. So thank you all for watching me this week, and for all the nice feedback that I received on the last couple of shows. I really appreciate it. It's nice to know that you're out there. And I guess that's all I have to tell you. I hope you all have a really great week. And until I see you next week or the week after, from my heart to yours, happy knitting.